There, and welcome to the Neural Spark. I'm Greg Macon, and this is the place where we explore the fascinating intersection of brain science and faith that leads to real, lasting transformation in people's lives. So today we're diving into something that might just revolutionize how you approach helping others grow, and maybe even how you see yourself change. So I'm going to start with a bold but honest truth. Logic on its own rarely changes people. I mean, think about it. How many lectures, sermons, talks have you heard just a month ago that you can't even recall their title? Can you remember the key points from the book that you read last year? I certainly don't. And more importantly, how much did learning that information actually impact you? Like today? So for most of us, the answer is really not really much at all. And even worse, we know what we should do, right? We should eat better. We should exercise more. We know in our head that we should be kinder, gentler, right? But knowing doesn't often translate into doing. So why is that? It's because the part of our brain that holds all that knowing, the left brain, the part that has the thoughts, the goals, and the planning, that isn't where deep change truly takes root. It actually starts in the right brain. So let me unpack that just a bit. So your left brain, it's brilliant at things like analyzing, organizing. It loves spreadsheets, strategies for solving problems. But your right brain, that's where our core emotional knowings and schemas live. And that part shapes how we see everything, what we expect from ourselves, what we expect from others, and what we expect from the world. Unfortunately, many of these emotional learnings, the ones that were wired early in life, often without words, were formed in moments of fear, pain, disconnection, and now they quietly shape everything, how we feel, how we react, how we relate. And these impulses, they typically bypass the rational right brain, even though we try, we pause, we reflect, we think, we consider, and we try to engage that part of our brain in the thinking process. It's so fast, it just goes right by it. And here's the game changer. If any painful memory or dysfunctional inner storyline like not enough can get re-engaged with someone safe who gives us what we need, those old narratives can literally be rewritten. And this is where deep, lasting change happens. Not by trying harder, not by thinking different thoughts, but by actually experiencing, receiving grace in the very places where we need it the most. It's what is called a corrective relational experience. It's in those moments when you are no longer dismissed, shamed, or invisible, but instead met with acceptance, compassion, and understanding. And when that happens, for example, when your sadness is met with empathy and comfort instead of trying to be fixed, ugh, the old emotional learning that I shouldn't be sad, or if I'm sad, it makes other people like mom unhappy, or I have to have it all together. And so I can't have any bad thoughts. Those things don't just fade, they dissolve at the neuro level. And that's where real healing begins from the inside out, from down here up. So let me make this clear with a story. I work with Sarah. She struggled with imposter syndrome for years. She was incredibly bright, smart, successful by every external measure. But inside, yeah, she constantly felt like a fraud, just waiting to be found out. So she tried reframing her thoughts, practiced mindfulness. She even memorized scripture, but that sense of not being enough just wouldn't budge. But during one of our neurocoaching sessions, she recalled a time when she was about 8. She was proudly showing one of her parents a painting she had drawn, so full of excitement, creativity. And because her dad didn't really value creativity, actually kind of poo-pooed it, but what he really valued was like productivity, like let's get on with the task at hand. Her creation was dismissed. She was told just to get back to her chores and her homework. Like that's the real work of life. Sadly, this wasn't the first time her joy was ignored and her excitement was just downplayed. It happened quite often. And as you can imagine, over time, a powerful unspoken belief was cemented in her heart. If I dream, if I pursue what I really like, someone won't like it. They may not even like me. So don't even try. Otherwise, you're just going to be disappointed or you'll be a disappointment. And it's just going to lead to disconnection with someone that's important that you need. And so her right brain stored this not as a thought, but as an emotional expectation about how the world works, how relationships work. But in her session, something profoundly different happened. As she revisited that and some other memories, she felt deeply attuned to. She felt not only heard, but celebrated. And so in subsequent conversations, she recalled other times she felt invalidated or invisible. And with each of those, she could feel me kind of moving toward her while also celebrating her. And she was able to take all of it in from me, honoring and rejoicing in her and her dreams, something that her dad had never done, delighting in her as his valued daughter. See, these new grace filled experiences directly contradicted her younger sense of being a disappointment. And her brain literally has begun to rewire. Eventually, Sarah wasn't just trying to believe in herself, having kind of positive thoughts. If I just, but she actually knew in her heart that she indeed was more than enough. She no longer felt inadequate. That sense of self-doubt was like gone. Her old belief system had fundamentally changed. That's the power of the right brain. That's the heart of transformational change. And so if you're someone who wants to help others grow, this is your reminder. You need more than just trying to help people change their thoughts. You actually need to know how to create profound, corrective relational experiences that overwrite the negative self-talk and the old limiting beliefs. At the Institute, we train people in precisely this, how to work with the whole brain. We can teach you how to engage others' relational brain effectively that actually facilitates these powerful, corrective, relational, emotional experiences. And that changes people's lives forever. Sadly, though, many therapists, pastors, leaders, coaches, they still relied on this old model of change. Things like cognitive restructuring or challenging faulty thinking. And sure, those have their place, but honestly, it's like rearranging deck chairs in the Titanic. Yeah, it might look like something's happening on the surface, but the ship is still going down. It's sinking. So real transformation doesn't come from just moving thoughts around up here or trying to think different thoughts. That's surface level work. What's needed is addressing what's happening below the waterline, uncovering the emotional weight, the unresolved pain, the old implicit memories that are driving the whole thing. That's the work we do. We help people dive beneath the surface into the emotional engine room of their soul. And when we help them experience something new there, something safe and something different than what they've expected, what they used to get, that's when the ship starts to rise. That's what keeps them from going under. We're not just swapping out deck chairs, we're changing the course of the whole ship. So if you're ready to move beyond these surface level fixes and facilitate the kind of results that truly impact lives, I warmly invite you to explore the Neural Change coaching community and cohort that's starting this July. Please check out the link in my email to learn more. Because when we learn to speak the language of the right brain, we don't just shift behaviors, we transform lives. Thanks so much for joining me today. Let's keep transforming one neural pathway at a time. Bye now.